Alright, so at the start of the movie we see these two siblings, Becky and Cal, cruising in a car. They're on a trip or something. But then, things get a bit tense for Becky, and they need to find a place to crash. Next to them, there's this big field of tall grass. Suddenly, Becky hears a kid's voice coming from that grass. On the flip side, they're also picking up on some other sounds. Turns out there's a kid in the grass whose mom is telling him not to ask for help. Becky and Cal find this whole situation pretty strange. Now, they decide to go into that tall grass, leaving their car by the church to help the kid. Cal ventures deep into the grass, while Becky hangs back, dialing the police. This move gets them all disoriented in the grass. Weird supernatural stuff starts happening as they step in. They're calling out to each other, thinking they're close, but in reality there's quite a distance between them. It's all a bit confusing, feeling close, calling out, and then realizing they're actually kind of far apart. So, Becky comes up with a plan. She suggests they both jump at the same time, thinking it might help them spot each other. They give it a shot and it works. They catch a glimpse of each other mid-jump. But the weird part? The next time they jump, they can't see each other. Freaky, right? And to add to the confusion, it's nighttime now as they continue searching for one another. So, Becky runs into a guy in the tall grass, and he turns out to be the dad of the kid named Tobin from earlier. She fills him in on their situation, how Tobin asked for their help, and they all ended up in the grass. Night falls, and despite their efforts, the two siblings still haven't reunited. Now this guy Ross tells Becky, "Let's stick together. We can look for Cal as a team." Meanwhile, Tobin approaches Becky's brother Cal. Tobin starts talking about how it's easier to find dead things in the grass because it doesn't let them sink. But Cal isn't too keen on this story. Ignoring Tobin's tale, Cal asks, "How did you end up here?" Now Tobin spills the beans to Cal. Their family visited the church, heard a man's voice calling for help from the grass, and when they went in, they got separated. Tobin drops a bomb on Cal, saying he knows Becky is going to die. Cal finds this odd since Tobin hasn't even seen Becky, and Cal hasn't mentioned her. So Cal questions him, "How do you know?" Tobin claims a rock told him, and the grass spilled the details to the rock, which apparently knows everything. Cal is just not buying into Tobin's story. It all seems pretty useless to him. So Tobin takes Cal to this mysterious rock. Just before Cal can touch it, he hears Becky's voice. Confused, he starts looking for her again. Meanwhile, another guy shows up in the grass. Becky's spouse, Travis, searching for both Cal and Becky. Tobin meets Travis and tells him he knows he's looking for Becky. Tobin drops the bombshell that Becky is gone, leading Travis to Becky's lifeless body. Travis is devastated, grieving over Becky's lifeless body, holding on to her necklace. As morning breaks, he tries to get out of the tall grass but faces difficulty. While struggling, he hears a kid's voice beyond the grass and calls out for help. It turns out to be Tobin. Tobin's family enters the grass to rescue Travis, but they can't find him, and they end up getting separated from each other as well. So a bunch of days have passed, and the movie takes us back to the beginning. Becky and Cal seem to be stuck in this place, and Tobin is calling out for help. Tobin's mom, though, is telling him not to call anyone. Now here's where things get tricky. The movie is playing with a time loop. Everyone is caught in this cycle of repetition. It all starts with Tobin getting a call from Travis, leading to Cal and Becky entering the grass. But guess what? Travis came looking for Becky and Cal. It's this mysterious time loop that's been going on for quite a while. Alright, picking up from where Cal and Becky entered the tall grass. As they call out to each other, Travis starts hearing them. He tells them to keep talking so they can find each other. When they finally meet up, Becky and Cal are surprised to see Travis. They ask him, "What are you doing here?" Then Travis drops a bombshell. He's been looking for them for the past 2 months. This blows their minds because as far as Becky and Cal knew, they've only been in the grass for 2 days. It turns out, they're stuck in some weird time loop, and even the characters in the movie have no clue about it. It's a real mystery. Now the three of them are determined to get out of this place. Meanwhile, they hear Tobin nearby. Travis puts Tobin on his shoulders to guide them, keeping an eye on the area outside the grass. Tobin points out a building, and they head in that direction. While this is happening, Becky gets a mysterious voice message on her phone. The message warns not to let Cal harm Travis and to avoid repeating mistakes. It's all very mysterious, but they decide to push on, ignoring the strange message. As they're almost making it out of the tall grass, it starts closing in on Becky, causing her to lose consciousness. Cal and Travis rush to her side. Tobin's dad appears, and reviving Becky, claims to know the way out. Simultaneously, Tobin tells his dad they saw a building outside, and they're heading there. However, when Tobin looks again, there's no building in sight. Despite this, they all decide to follow Ross out. Instead of leading them out, Ross takes them to a rock and starts explaining the supposed benefits of touching it. Just as Cal is about to touch the rock, Tobin's mother shows up and warns against it. She claims that Ross has harmed her and witnessed Becky's death. The others are skeptical, thinking she might be mentally affected by staying in the grass for too long. While Ross insists on touching the rock, Travis senses something off. He confronts Ross, but Ross overpowers him. Despite the struggle, Travis remains determined and urges the others to escape from the situation. As everyone follows Travis's lead and starts to leave, Ross brutally attacks Tobin's mother. In shock, they all run away together, but they're unable to find an exit. Suddenly, they spot a dog and end up at a deserted store along the way. It seems they finally escaped the tall grass. While Travis and Cal argue in the store, they hear Ross's voice outside. In a rush, they head to the store's rooftop, realizing that the only way out of the grass is by walking through it. They notice that the dog that guided them to the store has now made its way through the grass via an earth hole. While observing this, Travis slips, and Cal saves him once. However, Cal deliberately lets go, causing Travis to fall. Tobin notices Cal's actions. Before Tobin can address it, they hear Ross's voice again. Cal rushes downstairs, taking both of them with him. Tobin re-enters the tall grass after going downstairs. Cal and Becky find themselves back in the tall grass, and it's evident that all these actions are influenced by the mysterious message Becky received. According to the message, Cal has harmed Travis, and Tobin repeats the same mistake by entering the grass again. Ross catches Cal, and despite Cal's attempts to escape, Ross follows him and declares that he will catch him no matter which way he goes. Tragically, Ross ends up strangling Cal to death. Now there are multiple dead bodies of Cal in the tall grass, indicating that Ross has killed him multiple times in the movie's time loop. Becky, in her frightened attempt to escape, encounters strange figures covered in grass, whom she dubs grassmen. These figures carry Becky to the same rock where Ross had led them. Here, Becky, who has gone through the ordeal multiple times, is about to give birth near the rock's hole. She realizes the repetitive nature of events and makes a call from her cell phone to her own number, intending to prevent her future self from entering the grass again in the next time cycle. It's a loop that Becky herself initiated, receiving the idea from an unknown source. Becky loses consciousness after making the call and later wakes up to find her brother Cal holding her baby. However, she's shocked to realize that Cal is making her eat something, and Cal reveals that it's actually her baby. In a bizarre twist, the boy who appeared to be Cal transforms into Ross. It turns out that the boy was Ross all along. Later, Tobin and Travis appear, with Tobin explaining to Travis that his father, Ross, will repeatedly kill them. They are at the beginning of the time loop, and Tobin is recounting events based on the cycle. In the final scenes, Tobin and Travis reach the rock, where Ross violently attacks Travis and tries to make Tobin touch the rock. However, Becky intervenes and kills Ross. Travis, after reluctantly touching the rock, gains knowledge of the grass's secrets, but is cursed to remain inside. He passes Becky's necklace to Tobin, instructing him to wait for Cal and Becky outside the grass and to tell Becky the whole story. In the last moments of the movie, the time loop is about to restart, and Cal and Becky are on the verge of entering the grass. Tobin, now aware of the truth, sees them from the church and convinces them not to enter, preventing the cycle from repeating. The movie concludes with Travis meeting his fate inside the grass.